Welcome, everyone, to part of February's challenge as it ends. And you can say hello. I'm going to introduce you here in a minute. Just let's wave to our audience out there. Hi, everybody. We're going to be a little bit delayed since we're doing this remotely today. Thank you for being with me. Melody, just so you guys know, normally is the one that is here with Keisha. Bless their hearts. They're out doing a wonderful job selling in both Hampton and up in Puyallup. So if anybody's in Virginia, and some of you might do, throw in your comments, let us know where you're from. But are you going to the show? Are you going to be at any of those events? We'd love to hear. And if you're going to be up in Puyallup also for one of the show, I'm telling you, Sew-In Stitchery Expo. I'm trying to remember what the name of that is, but it's a fun, great show. Been there many times. Love to hear your stories about that. Stop by. We've got a booth in both of those places. Melody's in Puyallup, and we've got Keisha out in Hampton. So great shows, great things happening. They're all around. With me today, as I'm helping facilitate part of the end of the challenge, which is the Flying Geese month that we're doing, I have my mother-in-law, Laurel, who is with us today.
Hey, everybody.
And if you can remember, it was how many months ago? What was it? Back in December, was it, that we ended up doing the Flying Geese?
Yeah.
I think one of the 12 days of Christmas, she came through and did some demonstrations with us for some flying geese, which was really, really fun. And around us, can you see we're in her place, we're in her home. And as you know, as a lover of quilting for how many years? How many years has it been?
Oh, let's see. It's probably been 20 years.
20 years. Guess. And she says that she does have stacks of quilts. They're, by the way, finished quilts.
Oh, yeah, it's a little embarrassing.
But today, as we're finishing up the challenge, we're going to be having several of those from the creative group. And those of you who have participated with the challenge, several of you have submitted your Flying Geese projects. Karen will be joining us as well. One of the owners of Caterpillar will be joining us here probably in about 15 minutes, and she'll be sharing her project that she went through. And again, we're loving to get some of the things from you as well with some of the inspirations that you guys have. So we're excited to do that. So again, let us know in the chats where you're from, where you're joining as we do our month-end challenge. So today what we're going to do is a little show and tell with Laurel.
Okay.
And if you're with us, any questions that you might have, we might be a little bit slow in getting to those, but feel free to ask us a few questions and we will help answer those. But today we'll do a little show and tell as far as Flying Geese on the projects. And so again, remember, Karen will be joining us here shortly. We're going to take a look at part of what that is. And so what we'll be looking for is some show and tell with Laurel. We'll be doing some show and tell with Karen. We'll be doing some show and tell with several of you who've submitted your projects as well. And as always, we have been running a special for this month as well with a particular bundle that we've had with part of the Flying Geese. I'm just going to bring those things out so that you can know what those are. We'll be putting those on screen so that you can know. Never been a better time to get these in the combo that we've got going on right now. And then some of you, wink, wink, just so you know, there's other things going on. We do have the Handmade Collective that is officially kicking off next week, Monday. So you're going to want to come back and join us for our 4th Handmade Collective. In essence, this is our annual comeback. We started last year in March. We did one in June, one in September. And next month, we're going to have another Handmade Collective. Just know there was and still is a pre-registration available for a few of you that you can take advantage of today and tomorrow, because there's a little bit of an extra prize that we're doing for those people that are pre-registering for the Handmade Collective, and then be looking forward to our live and our launch next week on Monday. But with that, really quick, before we get into the show and tell, Laurel, and on our screen, we can see that there's part of the special. And then maybe I'll just have her kind of share a couple things, because she got your light board how long ago for the first time? It was back in December, right?
December, right.
And she had not used a light board, and we're going to talk about a couple of these things, but you did part of your Flying Geese demonstration on that as well. And so, so we're going to talk about a couple of things. So this is the Caterpillar Premium 2, which is part of that bundle. And again, just as a quick note, it does come with the translucent cutting mat. This is the battery operated version of the cutting mat that we have as well, so the Premium 2. And maybe, Laura, if you want to just share your experience. You mentioned when you got this and you had not, in your 20 years, had never used a light board, right?
I had used something that was quite different than this. This is so much better because it's flat. The one I had before kind of tilted up, and as I was tracing, because I've done a lot of applique as well, this works so much better.
Now, one of the things that you did also recently, you did her project on this. And again, this one comes with what we call the gridded mat. So this one comes with the mat that has all the grids on it. what we ended up doing is in this combo, we're including what we call the gridless mat. And this is one of the things that you just recently decided to get.
Yeah.
And the reason she ordered this is why? What was the difference for you with the gridless versus the non?
Oh, well, some of the cuts that you need to make, the gridded one made it confusing because there were multiple lines and I needed to see.
Have no lines. You just wanted the light.
Yeah.
You wanted the cutting surface.
Right.
You wanted to be able to mark and do things
Exactly.
that weren't just on a sheet of paper. So
Right.
that's one of the different unique pieces that you end up with the Caterpillar light boards with their cutting mats. And by the way, they have non-slip surfaces. We call them dual grip, both on the front and the back to help keep them from sliding. And then again, so we end up with is the Premium 2, which is the battery operated cutting board. We end up with the mat that comes with it, which is the normal gridded mat. In this particular combo, which really helps when we're doing things like some of these other alignments that we want, where we're not looking for grids in the background, we want the gridless. So this one and this combo comes with the gridless mat. Then the other key thing as well that we're including in this is the glow tempered glass. And I'm just going to kind of hold that up so you can kind of see that on the back, the glow tempered glass. And this one is and can be used over the surface, by the way. You can iron, you can do everything, any type of crafting, quilting, sewing, anything that if it gets on here, what's really nice is that the glass, one, is tempered. It's the same thing and strong and stronger than what you're going to find like even on your stovetop. So it can handle the heat, it can handle the abuse, works well to clean it. And one of the other great things that we did is this is printed on the back. So you never have to worry about damaging the grids when we're using the surface on its own. And it can be used on or off of the surface. Now you mentioned you just recently got one of these too.
Well, what I just got was
this,
but
nice.
The glass one looks really good to me because ordinarily you pick it up from where you've been working, you move it to your ironing board, and you have to straighten it up again. So the glass top would be much nicer.
There you go. We'll probably just be leaving that one with you to have as part of that as we're doing this. So know that this is the special that Eric had brought up. This is an availability for you as we're going through this. Make sure to take advantage because the sale that we have for February on this, think about it, February ends tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the 28th, and we will be done with the February combos and specials. So don't wait for those. But in the meantime, let's start with some show and tell. And let's do this, Eric. Let's go ahead and have anybody who participated in part of the challenge, if you've been there or done that, maybe give us a quick couple comments about a few things that you have when it comes to your Flying Geese. And I'm going to take a brief minute as we're doing this. And then what quilt would you like to look at first? Because so let me tell you really quick with Laura. Okay. I was asking her, I said, just so you know, Laura, do you have any of your quilts that potentially have Flying Geese? She's like, well, I don't really know. And I'm like, well, and I'll take one out. By the way, this is my quilt. Not that I made it. It is mine. It was a gift that I got from Laurel. And when I started looking at this, I'm like, there are things all over this. And so to me, what we're going to take a look at is we're going to be just sharing with you other ways that you can envision and be inspired to put them into your projects. And then some of the patterns you're going to find will do these things. Some people like to make their own patterns, but we're going to talk about this. So this was a gift, and we're going to talk about a few of our different quilts. And at the end, stay with us because one of the special things that I want to talk about is what we have up behind us. And give us the name of this quilt.
This is the Dear Jane quilt.
A Dear Jane quilt. So a lot of you, if you've been in quilting, you might have heard of, or you might be aware, and some of you might even be as brave as Laurel, and you maybe have attempted to complete it as well. We're going to talk about that story in a minute because I have been in the quilting world for about 20 years. And by the way, I didn't really know. I just, you just call them blankets, and then you realize that there's this time and this love and a lot more that goes into them. And there are difference between blankets and quilts. Sure. And as part of that, she has a little bit of a story on that one when she had it finished as well. And we'll have you tell a little bit about the story, finished quilting it, as well as part of it. So that's what we're going to be doing as part of the show and tell. So Eric, let's go ahead and bring up some comments on the screen as well. And I'm going to be a little bit delayed in part of what these are, so be patient with me. Let's just go ahead and recognize we have a lot of people coming in from Pennsylvania. We have Cheryl Lisa, it looks like, Florida, Anady Gracia from Florida. We have a Mom Dar 2008 who said she's already registered for our Handmade Collective. Thank you very much. We've got the bundles that are going on. We've got a Ginny, and she says, I can hear me well, but Laurel is very quiet, so I'll have to be a little bit more quiet. I'll have to tool back my voice. I'm a projector in my voice, and we'll make sure that we can let her have her moments as we're talking through part of what this is. But that's what we're going to do. Two birds with one stone. Somebody put down in here with the Nook and Notions group, so thank you. Also, somebody did say I've started a Dear Jane using Lori Holt's fabrics, which is fun. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go through, and we'll come back to this one in a minute. Later on, I'm going to show you one other. This was a wedding quilt that we had back in the day, and that when Laurel started. This is you're 20. This is more than 20 years.
More than 20
more than 20
yeah.
years.
Yeah,
but you can look as some of that progression happens. So let me move those to the side. We'll come back to those. What quilt would you like for us to grab first?
Well,
I'm going to help us grab one.
Let's do this one because it's right here.
Okay, let's go ahead and kind of put that up on the table.
Now, Nathan mentioned when he asked me for quilts with Flying Geese in, I thought, well, I don't really know. But then when I got looking, all these quilt blocks have different names, but they have incorporated Flying Geese. Like, look at this right here. Here's Flying Geese right there. And then we look up here, there's Flying Geese right there. They're everywhere, even though this quilt has blocks that have everyone has a different name. Many of them incorporate Flying Geese.
And again, let's just talk a little bit when you talk about this with those people. So those that have ventured into part of the Flying Geese in the month of February as part of the challenge, if you think about this, again, and part of what we're seeing is there are different ways of considering what that might be, or a way of comboing those with a few different things. So we talked about this one down here. This would be a more probably of a very common way that somebody might do something. Instead of doing a long chain, what we end up with is a couple blocks, which we kind of did a demonstration of back in December, and then we're putting those together. Then we end up with this one. So tell me about this one, because it looks like this one here, right? They're a little bit smaller.
A little smaller, yeah. And a little more involved because they are smaller, but it's definitely Flying Geese. When you see in the center of this bigger blocks, it's a Flying Geese unit right in there. So.
But I know there's another couple things too, and then we'll move over to another quilt because I'm going to keep this going.
We're seeing Hunt.
And by the way, let me kind of just let everybody see this as we move through. I'm just letting you take a look at the different varied blocks. Again, keep your comment. I just say somewhere here, I love, thank you. Someone just commenting about loving all the Caterpillar products. I own everything but the paper cutter. Way to go. Thank you for that comment.
There's two more.
All right, we're going to go ahead and flip this over. We're going to keep on showing. So let's go ahead and point this one out then.
Yeah, there's this one right here that is the bigger one. And then here again is a block with smaller ones in.
And let's do this. While we're doing this, I'm going to go around. I'm going to bring the camera so that everybody can see this even a little bit closer as we're going through this. So here we go. There we are. So let's go ahead and show them a couple of the ones that you talked about that had the different sizes right there. So
here's the big one right here.
And then tell me a little bit about this one, because what we end up with a large and then the small, correct?
One, yes, and then here again, Flying Geese with the smaller one in the center, and then the bigger ones outside, Flying Geese blocks. So, well, they're going to show up everywhere once we get looking, aren't they?
Now, tell me really quick, what's the difference between, okay, so we've got one here. Share with me about that one really quick.
Same thing, just softer colors, a little more subtle, the big one. And instead of having this a solid color, it's cut in two, so it becomes a little more involved block.
And then what's the difference on something like this versus, again, I know the Flying Geese is when they're really paired and partnered more together.
I would just call these half square triangles.
Just half square triangles, okay. Yep.
And they're everywhere. Yeah, here's some more in this one.
Great. And then if everybody's still good, is everybody still hearing us okay? Hopefully so. I know that Laura might be a little bit quieter on that one. All right, there we go. So let's go back and let's flip back over here to the first ones one more time. Okay. Here, I was just going to open this back up. Let's just do it one more time since I'm close. Do you have one that we're going to point out? There we go. Here was that original one.
First one we showed right there.
Okay.
That one. And then this one right here.
There we go. And this was the other one that had the smaller ones.
Smaller one in the middle with the bigger blocks, the bigger Flying Geese units out here you can see mixed in with half square triangles, and it makes a really pretty block.
Great. Okay, so we'll continue to do this. Let's go ahead and grab and move this quilt back over here. Let's grab this one because the other one's really big behind us. This is a little bit different.
I have to almost open it up because it's got kind of a fun section here that it's got a whole row of Flying Geese. If I can find them now.
Here, I'm going to come around. We're going to look here. Yep, that's a section.
There we go.
And again, throw your questions through there. And if you want, we'll take a look at putting those back up on the screen. Eric, if you've got some of those, let me know. Eric, can you please remind, there was a hashtag question in there, which might be good. Next month, I believe I'm going to be going to the half square triangles, which is something else that we're doing. We're going to be doing, I think they're rectangles. I'm trying to think what they're called, but I don't remember. But we'll be introducing those on Monday as well.
Okay.
Here you go.
This one's fun because it's got a whole row of flying geese. And then if we look at this block right here, here again, you see the smaller ones, and they're turned
as part of that.
Opposite way. So it gives quite a different look to this block compared to this block.
Now put your hand on the block for me. Show me the block.
Okay.
Is it here? Is this the block here?
There's two blocks.
Oh, if I can see it goes like this. There you go. The two and the two going out, and then the two coming back together.
Is where the next one starts, and they both have flying geese.
Share with us your thoughts on what the inspirations are, if you can kind of think about this. Now, this is interesting because, again, you have blocks, but you've got variations of these types of blocks in there. And then again, this is a little bit more traditional when somebody runs them as a sashing or as part of a border, etc.
This is actually a memorial quilt, which the blocks represent different parts of this person's life. And this whole row here kind of represents, well, these are the ocean waves, and this is as they came across the ocean. That's what this part represents.
So by the way, a lot of people are going to be a little bummed because I didn't really hold the quilt out. So I'm going to hold this one out really quick just because people are going to want to see. There's an opportunity to see quilts. So let me just kind of hold this for a minute. Obviously, it's very large, but let's maybe put the bottom end back up here on the table a little bit here because they can see all that on the table. And again, just talk about that particular block. Again, you're saying that there are sections of this that memorialize different parts of somebody's life's experience.
Yes. Like, for instance, up here, this person was born in a log cabin, and so we have a whole row of log cabin quilts. And then it goes through his life till we get to the bottom where it's dark, which represents his death.
There you go.
So this one's kind of fun. This one is a wedding ring quilt, represents his marriage to his wife. Fun things you can do with these blocks as you look through the different blocks and find things that do relate to someone's life. This was fun to do.
Wonderful. Let's do this. I'm going to have you hold the middle, and we'll fold this one back, and then we'll go back over there. You're good. And then we're going to get another one that's really, 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 really big. Heavy. Give me just a moment here. There we are. Okay. All right. And then Eric, can I have you come on, Eric, really quick for me? Let's have you bring you back in audibly here. Eric's going to join us. He's not normally wanting to join us. We'll have you sit back down here for a moment. And then part of that's just to make sure we're going to be keeping up with everybody. Thanks, Eric, for being here with us. Let's go ahead and find out what questions are people asking that we maybe can go through before we move into this other quilt here.
Yeah, of course. One of the questions that was asked was, what was the hashtag? And the hashtag is hashtag CP Challenge that you can use on all social media platforms in order for us to find, the beautiful designs that you're making. One of the other questions was, where can I find where are Keisha and Melody going? And I just dropped in the chat a link where you can, stalk where they're going to be so that you can go and say hi to them into the various, shows that they're going.
Good.
Also, someone asked if we were supposed to upload both January and February blocks into the same month. You can do that. But for example, we already gave out the price of January, but you can still participate for February. So I hope you do that. Please upload your blocks into February so that you can get a chance to win one of the bundles that we have.
So Eric, if I were to come back and just kind of re-clarify that, what you're saying is, as part of the challenge, this challenge is something that happens every single month. So whether you joined us in January or you're joining us in February, you can join us in March, you can join us in April, and you can join us anytime along that. And then to your point, they can upload some of their projects and their ideas, which we're going to show later. Several of you have completed your projects. Thank you for sharing. We will be demonstrating those as well, but you will have a chance, no matter when you join part of these challenges, Our goal and the reason we wanted to do this is so that there wasn't you didn't feel left out. If you by chance are finding this in April of this year, you might want to go back and join, and then you can go watch our previous challenges and look at some of those, or just join us from April as you move along. This is not necessarily a block of the month. This is really meant to be just a different challenge that you can experience different projects and different ways of engaging with those over and throughout the year. So with that, any other questions, Eric, that I can maybe quickly answer before we get this other quilt out and bring that up here?
At the moment, those are the questions that I'm seeing, so I think we're good. And if you have questions, guys, I responded on the chat. So
there you go. And again, this is going to be heavy. We're going to kind of pull this one up. This is very large. What's the size of this quilt, would you say?
It's definitely a queen size. I don't think it's quite as big as a king, but it's heavy because there's a lot of teeny tiny little pieces in there. So it makes a heavy quilt.
Yeah. Now, really quick, do you mind if I ask, do you have where was this at in your quilting process? And then why did you choose something like this? Because what I've noticed is, like, if I were to plot my original quilt as an example, a lot of people, when we get started, we start with things that, if you'll notice this, there was kind of a shift, right? A little bit bigger, fewer pieces, even though the quilt might be bigger. If we're looking at this, like the sashing is one piece as an example versus put together with more. The quilt that we showed recently, some of these memorials are medium size. I showed mine here earlier. This one, if we've noticed, has kind of stepped into another level of small. And then this is one, because to me, we're going to share part of what this is. And there's a lot of other small blocks here. So tell me where this was in your journey and what caused you to decide to do a project like this.
I love to create, and so when I see something that looks challenging, I'm certainly not afraid of it. In fact, I'd rather just jump in, and I like to do things where everything's different. It's not just doing the same thing over and over and over. So every block is different, and you'll see we're going to find flying geese just all over the place in this quilt.
So let's do this. Let's slide a little bit more. I'm going to go grab the camera and move it for everybody. Be patient. Don't get sick as I move it, but I am going to shift it because there is so much here. Let's bring this in onto the table a little bit more. And let's go ahead and have you point out one or two of these, and I'll start to talk about them.
Okay. See, we can see the flying geese in here. And here again, they are in here.
So again, this one is kind of a couple smaller pieces, where this one, like, there's 4 compared to the 3 in the same size, the same size block.
Right. And you'll find them everywhere.
And then I know
here's some teeny tiny ones right here.
There you go. There are some really small ones. And then I also, go ahead.
This one over here, all the way around.
And then I also saw this one right here.
Yep.
Which is another block.
Yeah. And here's a tiny one in here.
Tiny one in the middle.
Everywhere. When you get looking for flying geese, you can sure find them everywhere.
So this one's fun. I'm going to kind of let everybody see. I'm going to have you just stay there. I'm just going to kind of back out on this a little bit so that everyone kind of see. And we didn't really even have a chance to look through the entire quilt. And then I'll come back. I'm going to help you hold this again so that you guys can see. We'll leave part of this on the table if you're okay with that. Just because it's so big, it would be hard for me to be able to hold it up. Now, it looks like it goes, which way would it normally go on the length? Is it going this way, I think? So I'm just going to hold this up so everybody can see. There you go. This is more of the entire quilt we had there. And again, a variety. I'm looking, we didn't even see. This is another set of flying geese right there.
Oh, yeah, they're everywhere, aren't they?
Yep. Trying to think of what else I might be.
It's definitely not a beginner, not one of my beginner quilts.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes, go ahead.
Someone's asking, and this is for Laurel, were there foundation paper pieced or traditional paper piecing when you were making that quilt?
So what method was used?
It's traditional. I did not use paper piecing on this one.
So traditionally done, not foundational paper piecing on this particular one. I'm gonna have you grab right there in the middle for me. I'm gonna kind of pull this. We're gonna grab that, and then I'm gonna come back around.
And it is heavy.
And it's a beautiful quilt. And one of the things, Laurel, that I was thinking about as well is obviously everybody who's with us, there's all sorts of crafting, sorts of sewing. You know, Karen and join us do a variety of other things as well. They join when they do board with so many different types sewing. I think that's an important part. One of the things that you mentioned, and I'm just going to talk briefly about the light board, then I want to get into this last quilt, and then we'll get with Karen as we talk about a few more memories here. And then any other questions that you might have, let's keep those rolling so that we can help answer those. But tell me, when you ended up using the light board itself, what did you find was one of the differences in using something like this today that you didn't have when you were doing some of these projects in the past?
Okay. When you need to be very precise, like you are with quilts with tiny pieces, this helps so much because you can see so much better what you're doing. If you don't have a light behind you, you might have a board that has lines on it, but the lighted board makes that precise cutting so much easier.
And what I would say is there's an interesting thing as we continue to look at several of you that have the products. Thank you very much for owning those and buying those and using those. What we find, if you think about this, if there's any type of tracing, any applique, you talked about that quite extensively, and she has several beautiful quilts. In fact, I think she has lots of this. Looks like it has quite a bit of applique on this one as well. You know, a lot of the times people are trying to find methods or ways of tracing, and often what I like to say is if there's light during the daytime, people have used windows and those types of things.
Oh yeah, I've done windows way back when.
And then what we like to say is all of a sudden it gets dark, you know, during the wintertime, it's dark a lot longer than it is during the summertime. And then to your point, even seeing, I was thinking one reason we wanted to come to film this at your home here today too, is you have a lot of windows. It's a beautiful space. It's a very bright place to be. But again, what we talk about is there are things that create shadows even during the daytime. And when we're looking at it and seeing, I'll just be honest with you, you know, borrowed my wife's reading glasses the other day because I was trying to look at something on my watch and it was dark and I was like, shoot, dang. I'm like, I guess, yeah, I'm like, I can't see. So let me put those back on. And if it was bright and illuminated, it would make it quite a bit different. So again, illuminating the surface underneath does transform the way you do your crafting, your sewing, and your quilting. So just understand and know that's really our goal, is to bring those things together, whether they're projects that you're starting with, whether they're projects that you've been doing for a few years, or whether it's something that you now, one of the comments you made on this is, and then maybe you can explain why, is you said you like to do things that were different. So it's almost like every block is a challenge, or?
Yes, every block is different. It's definitely a challenge, which I enjoy very much. So, yeah.
So in the comments, my questions for you is, are you the person that is looking for the challenge? Are you the person that's just wanting to be part of the experience? I like to say that quilting is a lot like puzzling, because what you get to do is you get to love and touch the fabrics that are beautiful and pretty patterns. A lot of people love their patterns and their pieces. We cut that and then we put that back together.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's a difference between a 50-piece puzzle, a 100-piece puzzle, a 500-piece puzzle, a 1,000-piece puzzle, right? And a lot of times they can be very similar in size. The parts get smaller and smaller and smaller and a little bit more intricate.
Well, I had a discussion with a friend one day about quilts, and she said, oh, look at all those pieces, because we were sharing what she had done. She was making quilts for her family, and she was making quilts with bigger blocks, and they were simpler blocks. And she said, oh, these quilts are quilts that can be used. I would not want this to be a picnic
This
quilt.
one, yeah, no. I like that.
What she was making was a quilt that could be used, and her family could put them in the car and they could go and they could have a picnic.
I like that.
And it's a total different purpose for a quilt, but both are valid.
I love that. In fact, why don't you share the ideas on how and what you've done and what you've used quilts for, maybe down the road. The quilt that I have, that's one of the earliest gifted quilts that I've got, was actually from your mother.
Right.
And it was one that we got during our wedding as well. And it was a completely hand. I'll end up bringing that and showing everybody. It was a hand-pieced and hand-quilted quilt. And she quilted it actually when I was with Grace. We had wooden frames that you would roll fabric onto from a no-basting perspective. And she had done that project on that hand frame as well in order to do the big thing. So I'll have to share with that everybody when we go to another point sometime. We'll bring that quilt out as a great one. And so again, let's kind of review what you just mentioned. And so I would love anybody to comment, what has been the different ways that you've used quilts? One of the ones that I loved that I saw here just a week ago that I have not looked at in such a long time. So back when our children were born, we give them as gifts. I was very fortunate to have received several for my children. I have 3 children. And the one that I found was hers that has been in our bed, and it's used, right? It was used and
Loved.
washed and used and washed and loved, and it has the wear marks. I was like, man, this is, and when I think about it, I go back to when she was just a baby, right? Young on her bed, and a quilt that she had, I don't remember. I think we probably washed and kept that on her bed for probably 12, 13, 14, 15 years or so.
Probably.
Is probably what it was. But again, coming back, so this one, what you're talking about, a little bit more simple. Still, this is not a simple quilt, because this one does have several detailed blocks. And if you were with us for last month's challenge, which was really fun, we ended up with Melody and Keisha and their husbands putting together literally just 9 patches. And that's what they did, 9 patches.
Yeah.
And so now we're doing Flying Geese. Next month, I think we're doing, why do I call them half square rectangles? They might be half square rectangles. Eric, if you can look at that, let me know what next month's challenge is going to be, which is a little bit different. Then that's even different than just half squares.
Okay.
Or what do we call that? Is that a half square? Is that what you call that?
Yeah, half square triangle.
Just a half square triangle. So, okay, that's part of what that is. So this one is not that. The reason I chose this one, by the way, is this one is a little bit, if you want to think about themed, like kind of like you can call like celestial or starry.
Yes.
And so I love this. And to me, I like, it makes me feel like things coming together. I love like intricate, and I think of gears and the what could be the building. So this was the quilt that I selected that I really loved, because it had the sun and the moon and the stars.
Well,
and
I
those
think the
types of
nice
things.
thing about this quilt is it has been loved, it has been washed, it's soft. You
Oh,
can
it is
wrap
really
up
soft.
in it.
Yep.
That one is not very comfy to wrap up in, but this one is. So
Yeah.
that's
So again,
nice.
love this one. As you can tell, this one definitely has been washed and has been used.
And it's
I
soft. It feels good.
am saying you hand quilted. Who hand quilted? You hand quilt this? This has been,
No, well,
it's been
see.
hand quilted.
I did hand quilt
You
this.
hand
I'm
quilted this one.
forgetting. Yeah.
Woo! Whoa. Hand quilted, by the way. Different level of respect there too. I did not realize that this one was all hand quilted.
This one's hand quilted. So.
Okay, better be a little bit more
Yeah.
careful with that one too. And not
Yeah.
that all of them are like that, but
Keep
hand
using
quilted is a whole different story than
Which I
machine
don't
quilted
do
as well.
Because I like to piece.
How many of you like the piecing? Do any of you like the quilting? By the way, how many of you like to actually do the finishing? A lot of people love the piecing, and then they'll have others quilt and do that. That's kind of where you're at. So again, I'm going to bring this one back too. So then this is one, I don't remember when we got this one as well. I'm not going to necessarily open this one back up, but you can tell this one's been washed and used, not quite as soft as this one. And I think that that's a tighter project as well, a lot smaller parts.
Smaller pieces make it a little not as draped.
Here's a comment that says, I took down, put that back up. Sorry, Eric, we'll have to look at what that was again. I'll have to see if I can find it. Again, it was a great one about a wedding gift and somebody being able to put that and building one together. But again, as we talked about all the different type of memories that we have, a lot of reasons you talk about, hey, if there's something that's just in the car, is there something that we're giving away as a gift, different sizes, right? A lot of people will start with smaller projects. Some people do them as wall hanging. They'll do them as drapes over the back of their couches or places in their home. Some people, again, will put those over beds and they'll change them for seasons. That's what we've done with these, is we will drape these down in our main family area over the back of our chairs. And then we also have an upper second story. So we drape these over some of our railings, depending on the season. Like this is more of a fall one that we'll get out when we have this during the fall time. And so we love doing that as well. But let us know. Keep your questions coming. Says, I needed a wedding gift and needed money. Took down, I made my homemade kitchen curtains and took apart, replaced as placements and such, and took all the fabric and made a quilt. And it became the recipient's picnic quilt.
I love that.
Yeah. And I would say that I didn't have a quilt. I would call it more of a blanket when my mom did one with jeans.
Yeah.
And so the jeans down on the back, we use that one often with some fabric, and she tied that one. Those are usually tied. Yeah, I can use them all the time.
Good.
Okay. Eric, are we in a place, are we about with Karen? Is Karen with us yet? We spot where we can bring Karen on and have her share that. And then what we want to do, so stay with us because we're about done here. What we're going to do is we're going to share a little bit more with Karen and her experience. We want to share with you the different pictures that and the different projects you've done. We're going to bring those up, and then we'll finish. We're going to talk about this Dear Jane quilt here as one of those last. As a reminder, before we bring Karen on and those others, just know that we do have the specials and things are on sale. There's a great time to buy, and now is that time to get those specials. And again, we've had several of you who've also mentioned you've registered as pre-registration for a Handmade Collective, so we'll get there. Anything else? So Karen, are you with us, Karen?
Yeah, she's here. So I'm going to put Karen up.
Awesome. Karen, let's go ahead and have you share with us this month's experience as well and how that came along for you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, first of all, Laurel, I just have to say that your quilts are amazing and definitely
Oh, well.
something that I will aspire to. Those
Well,
teeny
thank
tiny
you. Thank
pieces
you very
are,
much. It was, I appreciate that. Thank you.
they're just beautiful, so beautiful. I went the opposite way for my monthly challenge and I just did one giant block. And I actually gave it away as a present for for a baby shower gift. So I don't have it, but I think Eric has a picture that he can maybe show up. But so I just made one big 36-inch by 36-inch block and turned that into a baby blanket. And it was actually really fun. So I've only made some tiny, so yep, there it is. It was so fun to make a big one. I have only done kind of like your regular 12 by 12-inch squares before. So, making it huge was a different kind of challenge. I definitely had a really hard time cutting out the triangles. And I had to go back to the fabric store one time to get more fabric because I cut them the wrong way and ran out of fabric. Um, but,
By
you
the way,
know,
I could say that's almost any quilter's nightmare if they're doing that, because can
Yeah.
you get more of it?
I know it
Really?
was
You got
so
that?
sad. I just thought, I don't know. I thought I'm like I cut because you need a for flying geese you need like is it isosceles triangle, but I cut them so that they were long ways, and I was like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? But
You're learning.
you live and you learn. You live and you learn. But so I do have some scrap of that. You can't really tell in the picture, but that print is like these little mushrooms. The friend that I made it for him is just kind of like that earthy mama vibe. And so we went with green mushrooms because I thought it was just the cutest little fabric. So,
Nice.
and luckily,
Yeah,
That's
very
awesome.
cute.
I had just
The
gotten
nice
it.
thing,
It
yeah,
still
the
had it in
nice thing
print.
about
So,
that is it's going to be soft because of the big blocks. It's going to be soft, so it's perfect for
yeah,
a baby quilt.
yeah. I'm like, that's perfect for a little baby. And
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun to make. And I quilted it myself. I don't have a ton of experience quilting. So, those are just like some straight wavy lines. And I'm like, hopefully, since
I
they're
like that.
wavy, it's a little
It's beautiful.
forgiving.
Yeah, I was
But
going to ask you about that, Karen. It looks like so you did finish that on your own on your machine. I think, by the
yeah,
way, this is one of the, just so everybody knows, and we didn't really talk about this on the finished projects, because sometimes in the quilting there are things where you want quilting to show up, there are things when you want just the block, and there's things when you might want both the quilting and the block to show up.
Right.
And Karen, I think that looks beautiful, and one of the easiest ways to do this on a domestic machine is going and pushing it through the machine. And I liked how you mentioned wavy,
mhm,
and I say this because it helps remove the, like, I need to be so exact. And then, by the way, piece, we always know there's some variation.
That's right.
And so when we're doing quilt, and if we try to be, the more precise we try to be, then the more time, or the more great way, Karen, to finish a quilt. I think it looks fantastic. I heard that you had given it away as a project. I think that's wonderful. I think it's beautiful. It looks great. It looks really, really nice. I like the waves.
yeah,
I love the waves as part of what that is. I think that's a
thank you.
fantastic way to
Good.
do that, to finish it. And to me, it almost adds a second texture, again, if you think, because you had the normal block and then you end up with these waves. And so I saw that. I was like, oh, I bet Karen just
Yeah.
worked through that on her own. Then I was trying to decide how wavy or what that might be with what you finished. So wonderful.
Yeah, it was fun. It was interesting. So I used my walking foot with a little guide to try to keep
Oh,
it,
okay.
as
So you had some
straight as I could. They
consistency.
were still a little
Yeah.
bit wonky. Like if you look closely, which luckily nobody does, right? But
No,
some of them are a little bit off. But I'm like, you know what? It's a baby blanket. He's gonna spit up on it. He's gonna, it's meant to be loved and destroyed
Yeah.
kind of by a baby, so it's fine.
That's
But
fantastic.
well, you
I will
mentioned
say,
something just then about maybe something not being exactly perfect. One of the very first rules of quilting is you don't point out to people what you think is not perfect. They won't see it. They'll see
yeah,
just your beautiful projects. It's a
that's
rule.
true.
You don't point it out.
That's absolutely true. And I will say, learning this craft has been very eye-opening as to how much time and effort and love goes into making these quilts. For sure, it is so time intensive and so hard, and I really have an appreciation for the quilts that I've received, like much more than I already had. And it's been definitely eye-opening knowing like, and the Steam Ripper has been my best friend, but it's been fun.
Yeah.
Oh, sometimes you can say it. Now think about this, and I've had quilts that I've been given or tops. I've never pieced a top. I have no interest in. I've done puzzles every now and then. I'm not a person that wants to pull them apart. I'm more of the finisher.
Yeah.
So I have done and finished several quilts, and then I've done some with automation. And Karen, when you talk about unpicking, I've had a couple times, and you turn your back, and the system's running automatically.
Yeah.
And you might be doing 10 or 12 stitches in an inch, and then
Yeah.
you catch it halfway, and you're like,
That's a nightmare.
unpick. You're like, oh, that'll have to come another day. We'll have to get back to this tomorrow or on the weekend because of that, right?
Yeah.
Part of that process. So
Yes, for sure. I will say one of the struggles with doing a big block like this was just having the room. And so
oh
you
yeah.
asked me, Nathan, you're like, well, what tools did you use? And so I wish I had like a nice sewing room. Like, isn't that the dream? Like, we have a dedicated sewing space, and I don't. So my sewing room is actually a sewing corner in my bedroom. And I just like have this little, it's a folding table, and that's where I usually do all my cuts. But because this was such a big project, I needed a bigger place to cut. So I took my big flip and fold 48, which is portable, and I was able to go downstairs, fold that out. I could cut on my kitchen table, which is a lot more room. And that was really nice. Fold it up and like finish my sewing upstairs. So that was really nice.
Do you have one on you really quick that you
I
can
do.
pull? I do have one's outside. So let's have you pull that out really quick. And by the way, as we go through this and part of the challenge, our experience and our goal is to help you find inspiration. We want to be able to inspire you to feel like there are different methods, ways, and we know there's a variety of skills out there to just find and move yourself along through that journey. The second is we want to bring together the community. And the third, by the way, we would love you to buy our products. So I just happen to say that that's a true thing that I would love to say. So Karen did talk about this flip and fold being different because of.
Oh no. I don't know what happened to Nathan, but I think he wants me to talk about the flip and fold for a minute. So I just will. So you guys have probably heard us talk about this before. We have two sizes. So there's a smaller size that's like a 2x3 foot. This is the big one, 3x4 foot, and it actually folds into several different sizes. And the nice thing about it is that it's just so portable, so that if you're wanting to, go to a retreat, or if you want to, like me, if you have a sewing corner and that just doesn't have enough room for some of your projects, and you need to temporarily move your cutting station to somewhere else, it's just nice to not have to carry, your big mat down the stairs or wherever. Or even if you just want to store it, if you can't keep your sewing stuff in a dedicated space all of the time, it's nice. I mean, this can fit. I mean, you could slide it in any little nook. I keep mine, and I have this little shelf right here. I just kind of keep it tucked in there when it's not needed. But it just unfolds. I probably don't have room. Like I said, I just have a little nook right here. So I don't have room probably to show you how it unfolds all the way, because it really is big. It's 3x4 feet. But I'll just show you maybe a little teaser. I am in charge now, Brenda. I've taken over. And the nice thing about this too is you don't have to unfold it all the way. You don't have to have the full 3x4 feet, because it actually can unfold into some smaller sizes. So you just kind of unfold it like so. If I can find my end, was not planning to demonstrate, but you can just unfold like this. It just unfolds like a little book. and it clips in so that it's completely seamless. Sorry, I'm gonna have to stand up to do it. I'm like, I've never tried to do this actually sitting down, and it makes it a little bit more difficult, especially when you don't have the room to unfold this thing. So hold on. Okay, so can you guys see this? And then it just clips in here. These clip together. It's completely seamless. And these little lines, if you can see, they're not on any cut lines. So you don't have to worry about cutting on any lines. They're not on any grid lines. So you don't have to worry about cutting on any lines. You don't have to worry about your rotary cutter getting stuck in there or anything. They have all of our angle lines on here, if you guys can see those, which is also really nice if you guys need to cut angles. And there is a smaller size, which would probably be a little bit easier to demonstrate. This is not even unfolded all the way, and I'm already like having a hard time showing you guys. And the other bonus is that it does not warp. We've tested it in a hot car, and it stays nice and flat. You don't have to worry about, if you go to a retreat and you accidentally leave it in your car, you don't have to worry about ruining it, which is really nice. And I don't know, I just really love it. Oh, Nathan, you're back.
Oh, there you go. That's good. Thank you. No,
anyway,
that's wonderful.
So,
thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that a lot. And I was thinking, one of the great things, as you mentioned, from small to large, depending on the space you have in front of you, or if you mentioned you went down to your kitchen area, right, in order to cut that the bigger pieces out.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I was also thinking, I'm just going to share a couple other comments, and then if you're good, Karen, I'm going to have you stay along with us too, because we're going to start to look at some of the other people on our Accreditation Hub and others who have submitted some of their ideas. And we're going to review that. But I was just thinking about a couple comments we made. First, we had asked, do you do the piecing or you do the finishing? We had several people say, I prefer to piece, and I let others quote. We had a couple say, I have a long arm and I'm doing some of my own. You talked about the mistakes. And one thing somebody said that I thought was pretty funny, he says, if you can't see it from a galloping horse, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
And I think that's a good extreme on that, because who's going to see what from a galloping horse on part of that? Like, come on, like at the end, you do know. And I would like to say that's kind of like your signature. Maybe you can say on something like that as well, as part of what that is. So
Yeah.
any other advice before Eric, let's go ahead and bring up some of the other pictures as we do so. And then any other thoughts that you want to share, Laurel, as we get going, or Karen, before we kind of look at wrapping this up, and then we'll bring this Dear Jane quilt out, and we'll keep you, Karen, on with us as well as we kind of look at sharing with that.
I will say I've been seeing some of the people's projects as they've been posting them in the Creations Hub, and I'm just in awe at everyone's creativity and skill. It's just been so fun to see everybody submit their projects, and I like to comment when I can, and it's been a lot of fun. I love these monthly challenges. They've been awesome.
That's interesting. So we just talked about the type of batting. There's a whole other science behind bamboo or cotton or synthetic, a whole bunch of other things, wools, and all those types of things.
And Darla had a whole fun story behind hers.
And then why don't you go ahead and, Karen, and walk us through these, because I think you'll be a little bit more current on the time. So why don't you kind of help explain and walk through these as we look at these pictures and share any of your thoughts on them?
Well, okay. Well, there's Kim's. Okay, so I just love her fabrics that she picked. She did such a good job, and she did those. And Laurel probably can comment more on that, because she did those tiny little pieces, a star within a star.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And it's so pretty. I love it. And it's just so precise. I love that. This is so cute. Looks like Easter peep maybe themed. So cute. Oh, this one was really pretty.
Again, if you're
Jody.
with us, feel free to put your comments in too, and so you can share. We'll share some of the comments that you have as well if you're with us live. Go ahead and continue, Karen. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. So this is Jody, and I love hers. Oh, this one was mine. Saw that one. We just passed that one. Oh, that was before I finished the quilting. That was the pieced top. Oh, this is cute. Oh, this is Keisha's. So Keisha, this must have been her first Flying Geese, because Keisha's super new to quilting, and so
In fact,
she's
Karen, as part of that, what's interesting is Melody. Yeah, I think it was last year June, and I think she did one of the Riley Blake so-longs, if I'm not mistaken, which kind of got her into this. And then before we know it, at the end of the year at Houston, she's bringing back bags of her fat quarters, and she is completing projects on weekends and doing all sorts of things as well. And then Keisha is getting into this a little bit more now also as we've done this, which has been really fun to see those two as well continue to move as they're going through. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, they're so fun. Okay, this was Lisa, and her Flying Geese border was, that is just so beautiful. So this was a Christmas quilt, I think she said, but in like alternate Christmas colors, which, I just, like I said, I just love the creativity. It's just so awesome, non-traditional. And that's Melody's right there. So cute. She did a great job. And then this was so creative. Pat did a cross stitch Flying Geese, which
right.
I think that totally still falls under the challenge. And I think that's so cute and creative.
In fact, going back to that, Karen, one of the other things I feel like is everybody who's with us here, and Karen, I'm just going to use you an example. I think last fall you did the little ghost project, if I'm not mistaken, right? With you and Lindsay as part of that. And if you think about this, there is no right or wrong way. The key thing is for you, a lot of people do this because it helps them kind of get to disconnect from the chaos that's around them. And there's a piece of a place of peace. A lot of people like to do it because it keeps their hands and their minds busy as well. There's a lot of variety, and that means fabrics, and that means papers, and that means cross stitching. That means a lot of different ways of doing this. And so hopefully, as we're seeing, there's a lot of different ways to be inspired, and just know that there's no right or wrong. If you're out there and you're doing paper crafting, we would love to see what you've done and how you've done those types of things. There's like, a lot of our products get used for a card making and a lot of these other types of items. In fact, the clear mat, the glass mat is one of the best things for the paints and all those others, because it just cleans up so you can take a razor blade across the top. But again, we've sold these with so many different people doing so many different types of projects. So just know that this inspiration hopefully can give you some thoughts in the realm of what your best or preferred medium is. And we would love you to continue to share and upload those as part of these challenges, because that's really the goal. The goal is not specifically the challenge. The goal is the inspiration that comes from being part of the challenge. So again, I would just reach out and say, if you haven't joined the challenge, do so, because those emails or those things that get shared is a little bit different. We're doing things like this here at the end of the month with everybody that's part of our socials, with everybody that's part of our communities as well. But just, we'd recommend, go join that group with the challenge. With what time you have, you can participate. We do usually between 2 to 4 different videos throughout the month, usually one in the beginning to talk about it, like this one here as we're wrapping up the month. We're going to talk a little bit more about what the inspirations have been from you as well. So please go ahead and do that. Like, subscribe, and follow us on our social channels. That way you can get informed when we do have a live, or as you're going to find out next month, there's going to be a lot of things going on with the Handmade Collective again as well. And so, Karen, what we're going to do is we're going to move into this Dear Jane. Do you have anything else before we kind of look at wrapping today up and move into part of this Dear Jane?
I wonder if we could if Eric wouldn't mind going back to Darla's picture of her quilt really quick. I just wanted to share her little story with it because I thought it was really,
that would be fantastic.
sweet.
Thank you very much for doing so. And by the way, thank you. If you have stories or if you have things when you upload them, we would love to be able to share those with others as well, to understand where you're at in your journey.
There's a full quilt pic. Yes, this one. Okay. I'm just going to read this. This is from Darla. She said, when I started this, Mom had just gone into hospice. She insisted I still go to class. Beginning the second day of class, I got the come home now call. I put away these pieces for a very long time. Mom always loved watching the geese migrate. One morning, I was standing outside with my coffee, watching a very low flying flock go over, hoping one didn't let loose on my upturned face and thinking Mom would have thought it hysterical if one did. I started laughing until I cried, then cried until I laughed, went inside, pulled everything out for this quilt, and didn't stop until it was done. Bless my husband, he recognized the crazed look and stayed out of the way except to bring me food and rub my shoulders, and Mom's quilt won its size category. Isn't that the sweetest story? I love
Absolutely.
the quilt stories.
Again, we love to hear more of those stories. This entire community is filled with those types of things. In fact, I would tell you, and Karen, you might have heard this in the past, but I don't get to maybe share this enough. I just feel so fortunate. If you think I've been in the quilting world, it's been 20 years, and I've always told everybody it's one of the best places to be. And what we did is I worked with different companies and we made different products. Some of those were long arm sewing machines and some of those are cutting tools. And now we're doing light tools. It's just fun to be around so many, the inspiration from all of you out there, the desire to share, the desire to give, the desire to love. And so keep those stories coming. It's wonderful when you can participate with this kind of a group. And there's just a lot of good that comes from everything that really the sewing and the quilting and the crafting help, as they can help us all out. So I just love to be a part of that as we go. All right, let's go.
Totally agree.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Karen. Any other thoughts you want to share on that, or Laurel?
Nope, that's all. I was just going to say I agree. I love the quilt stories. I love sharing the quilt stories. So if you ever have any that you're willing to share, please send them on. And if you're willing to let us share them, I would really appreciate it. I think that they're so special.
Well, and they're very inspiring. It makes you want to go and get your sewing machine going, and you hear the stories and you see the work that different people are doing. And I think as human beings, we all have a desire inside of us to create. And quilting is just a wonderful outlet for that part of us that wants to create. So keep going.
Keep going.
Mhm.
All right. So we're going to talk about this, dear Jane. I am going to do one last call with everybody's here as we begin to wrap this up today. My last call again is just a reminder of what we're doing as far as our specials. We do have the premium Globe 2, and this again is the one that is battery operated. It can be plugged in as well, and it does have the 4 different light sources. Again, this particular combo that we put together is the light board, and what you're seeing is the gridless mat. This does not normally come with it. So this particular combo that we're doing for part of the February challenge come with the gridless mat. It does have by default box the gridded mat, which is what we're doing. We've also included in this combo, it is our glass tempered project, our glass tempered mat here. And so this also is included. This allows you to do things on top of the light board that normally you can't do, ironing and other types of things that normally you're not able to do pretty much anywhere outside of an ironing board. So it's a great way to start the combo. And as we talked with Laurel before, the grids are great for often we want some additional methods of lining up where we don't want grids. The gridless mat really helps out by still giving you the light, giving you the cutting surface. They still have those non-slip surfaces on top of them. And then again, a lot of people like to combo and put the glass on the top so that you don't have to move your parts all around. If you're going to do some lining up once you cut them, and now you're going to be ironing them or fusing them together, it's a great way to do that. The last item I didn't bring up last time is this also has the Caterpillar, the tote that goes for these same size light boards as well. The thing that's really nice about these is they have 2 large pockets. The large one here makes it so it's hard to miss anything at the bottom, makes it easy to see. And that's normally where we keep our light boards with our cutting mats. And then we also have an additional pocket for bigger projects. Again, a lot of times if people will do this, they'll end up putting their flip and fold or some of the other things transferring to retreats. This also has a front pocket where we can store other items, whether that's the cord or the magnets or others. And then they have handles, a long strap for the neck. And then if you're going to be traveling, which a lot of people do with their items, has one of these straps that can go along. And so that's part of what our combination is that we have today as we wrap monthly challenge. And so what that means is that has an additional discount on it, specifically for those of you that are doing the challenge, not for you if you're doing the challenge, but as part of this month's challenge to encourage you to give you some tools that make it a little bit easier. Really quick, Karen, I'm just going to have you maybe give me a comment, and Laura will give me a comment again as we wrap up, and then we'll move into this Dear Jane. When you began to use these light boards, Karen, what difference has it made for you? And then Laura, again, we've heard from you a couple of times. If there's any last comments about how they make you and enhance the capabilities maybe of you in your craft, I'd love to hear that really quick, Karen, from you, and then from Laura really quick.
I do love the light boards, but I'd actually like to comment on the glass mat. The surprise function that I've found with that is that it really helps you get those nice flat seams because you have that hard surface that, and in quilting, like you want that precision, you want to get rid of that bulk as best you can. And it really just helps you press so flat, and it's just so nice. So I just really love the glass mat for that, and it really helps a lot. It's a great tool, especially for things like Flying Geese, where you kind of get that bulk, in your corners. It really can just help with that. So I just love that.
I like that, Karen. So again, versus an ironing board that usually has the foam and some padding and some other things that are soft, what you end up with is this hard surface that lets you get that really hard, crisp edge when you're doing something or using that as part of that. Wonderful. Laura, any last thoughts on that?
My last comment is, any job, if you have really good tools, the job is easier. And these are really good tools. I'm a total convert.
And I love that. I do think that makes a difference. There are different levels of tools, different tools for different processes. And so to your point, really good tools just help make the things that you love doing a little bit easier and more enjoyable. All right, so let's quickly, we're going to finish with this. Karen, if we have any questions as we go along, would you mind asking those as they show up? Because I think I've been missing some of the comments, and I'm going to keep you here so that we can discuss and bring those up as we do that. And then any questions you might have, we'll do that. And then we'll wrap this up. And we'll call February a day and ask you to go use your coupons. And don't forget, if you haven't already joined Handmade Collective, and then you're going to want to join us Monday, and you're going to want to follow us on our channels as well. So let's talk about your Dear Jane project here.
Okay, this quilt is a copy of a quilt that was done by Jane Stickle during the Civil War. And she didn't have yardage of fabric. She had bits of things like flour sacks and different things. And so she used what she had to put together these little blocks. They're all different. The fabric's different in every one, in the borders, the squares, everything is different. And there's a variety of techniques in here. There's traditional piecing, there's applique.
You mind pointing out some of those so that somebody can take a look, as you're going to just point out a couple so they can know?
Well, applique for sure here. This one is applique. This one is the hearts as well. There's foundation piecing and things like this one for sure. With the Flying Geese, that one was foundation piece. And here again, applique. It was so much fun, and it took me a long time, which made
Let's go ahead and open this out one more time. Let's pull it out. I want them to see part of the edge so we can kind of let them see part of what this looks like.
Yeah, it has a scalloped edge with a hand binding, of course, and just a fun variety of blocks. It's a great.
Now, I'm going to ask this because I know you've done a couple different projects. Do you know how many pieces? And then let's keep on swinging this around for me.
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't even tell you on this one. I have another one that's called, oh my gosh, that has 32,000 pieces, but I don't know how many are in
going.
there.
I was going to just show them.
Many.
So this one, how would this one have been completed here?
Well, this would have been done with just strips because they're just little 9 patches.
Mini 9 patches. They're what, about 1.5 inches 9 patch?
Yeah, tiny.
So each one's probably a 1/2 inch, probably.
Yeah, tiny.
That's what that is. All right, maybe just point a couple more words. This one.
Tiny. Look at the little Flying.
And then how is this one finished here? Is this traditional foundation paper piecing?
Foundation paper. It's so tiny. Yeah, it's easier when they're that tiny.
And we're taking a look at a couple of the borders and the sashing. And then this one here, is this a combo? It looks like applique.
Mostly applique. This is reverse applique to open up that center block.
Again, and then the story on quilting. So back when you finished this, you took this out and you took it over to a person to complete the quilt, right?
Right, yeah.
And tell us a little bit about that story when she was done.
She is an excellent quilter. And as you look at this, every piece, every block is done differently. And so when I did actually take this one to a show, and part of the ribbon that I received was because it was such excellent quilting. So anyway, beautiful.
And one of the things too that I remember as part of the story, which is the funny part, oh, that's really cool. These interesting half circles or quarter
Yeah,
circles.
I'm not sure what you're remembering.
Is one of the things when she did this, the lady gave you a quote, and when she's done, she says, "Do not ever tell anybody
Yeah.
what I did this for," because the amount of finish work that went into this quilting, this is
Exactly.
hours and hours and hours, and I'm saying days
It's
of quilting.
teeny
Yeah.
in each individual block. So it's
So
fabulous.
that was
quilting
one of the
job.
other fun things too. Is I think you were very fortunate to also have an amazing quilter
Yeah.
who was able to do so. Because
Yeah.
I don't know this is obviously custom quilting, so
Right.
those are out there. You can get charged per inch
Right.
on things, and then you can just do general per inch, which is your pantographs or your edge to edge style patterns.
Right.
And then you can also do, oh, here we go. We've got a ribbon coming for this one really quick. And we're going to introduce husband Richard here. Oh, there's Richard, husband.
I can't brag enough about how talented she is.
Oh, there you go. There's part of the ribbon on that.
I want to be sure that they realize that was a real winner.
All right, there we go. Wonderful. Okay, Karen, any other last comments or thoughts that you have there as we begin to wrap up? Eric, if you want to come back in as we kind of conclude today's challenge, feel free. I know that we're excited about our challenges as we move forward. Next month, I forget, next month, we don't have a challenge next month.
We do
Right?
have a challenge next month, half square
we do.
triangles.
There you go. Half square triangles is.
And somebody
half
wants
square
to know if you can show the back of the quilt.
Yeah.
Oh, good question. Let's get the ribbon here.
Oh, wow.
Just simple.
And this one's a simple one.
So pretty. I mean, that's
And
all
then
you
often,
need. The front is
often just so you
amazing.
know, some people do, and they look when they quilt, depending on where you're at, they do purposefully. They'll do variation on threads on the front, on the back, because they want the back to be another part of the show. This one was more of a finishing, and you'll notice there's a couple key things depending on the color on the front, where certain colors were used because of the blocks in order to hide some of the stitching, or if it's like a stitch in the ditch versus something that we're looking to be as part of the quilted or the visible quilted parts, which is where we're there.
Yeah, but the back is not meant to be.
Yeah, on this particular one here. But yeah, great question. Any other questions that we have?
At the moment, no, actually. But
Okay.
everyone has been complimenting Laurel's quilts, and they are beautiful. Like, incredibly
Wonderful.
beautiful.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
She has a lot more, so we'll decide if we end up with some other quilts that we can look at with some of your other half square triangles and others that we'll end up be doing down the road. So, but there we go. But thank you very much. Take advantage of the specials. Buy now, register for the Handmade Collective. If you're already part of the challenge, join us. If you're not, join us and subscribe to the challenge. That can be found on Caterpillar's main website. If you go to caterpillar.com, on the main page, we have the Handmade, and the next banner is part of the challenge where you can find out what the monthly challenge is. You'll see other people's experiences as we move along throughout the month. We also then have what the next month challenge will be coming up, so that we're publishing that ahead. And that's what we're going to look to do. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Eric, for helping facilitate.
There is
and
one
be a
last
part of this
question.
event as well. Okay.
Henry's asking, does it have any batting in it?
Yes, it does. Just traditional 80-20 batting, just nothing special.
80-20.
And that's a great, 80-20 traditional batting.
Yeah.
Again, sometimes people, when you start doing this, some people do double layers of batting. Some people are going to do a trapunto where they might be batting in specific areas to create different textures and depth. There's a whole lot of those things when you start to look at this. And maybe, Karen, let's take a note of that. Those might be some fun other articles that we can find and put out there as we continue to do this, because there's just so many different ways of, one, piecing, and two, finishing as they come together. That would be a fun thing for us to look out throughout this year also. But great. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Thanks for hanging around as we've gone through this today, and as we've talked about and shared the experiences and the love and the joys and some of the sadnesses that people have, but how quilting brings us together. And go buy more Caterpillar products. Woo!
Oh. Okay.
So.
So.
Okay. We'll see ya.